Hello everyone, I'm Elsa Keslassy, international editor at Variety, and I have here with me Clément Schwebig, who is the president of Western Europe and Africa for Warner Bros. Discovery.
Hi Elsa.
So my first question is, what is Warner Bros. Discovery?
That's a good question. I just first would like to introduce myself because I'm new to this part of the world. I've been with Warner Bros. Discovery for a bit more than a decade, but in Asia, so based in Hong Kong and Singapore, and have the privilege now to lead our endeavors in this part of the world. So very excited to be here. What is Warner Bros. Discovery? It's a very good question because on the one hand, it's a very new company. It's the result of the merger of what used to be Time Warner or Warner Media and Discovery. And that was done, this merger was done 2 years ago. But on the other hand, it's a company who has celebrated 100 years anniversary of Warner Brothers last year. So it was an interesting moment. So what this company has done is combining a leader in the theatrical production with Warner Bros. We have had a bit of a presence in Cannes this year. There's a bit of an echo. It's normal?
Yes.
Okay, it's normal. Okay, fair enough. So we had the presence with Mad Max Furiosa that we launched, previewed this Wednesday, which went with quite a success.
Amazing movie.
Amazing movie.
You should all see it.
So that's very exciting. So we have this part of the business. We have a TV linear channel business with HBO, CNN, and I'll go more in detail for France and Europe afterwards. We have a streaming platform called Max. You can see the logo. Used to be HBO Max, used to be HBO before, now it's Max, and it's really combining the best of our Warner Brothers business, our Warner Brothers IP, Max original, HBO content, and the Discovery content. We have 99.6 million subscribers. I have to quote the exact end of Q1 numbers. So we're very close to the 100 million mark. And what is exciting with that, and we'll, I guess, come back to that later, but we're present with Max. Our presence with Max is in only more or less 50% of the addressable market where Netflix and Disney Plus are. So I think that's exciting with us, is that we have an expansion in territories that is really sizable, And then after, I'll just close very quickly, with all what we do with the theme parks and experience around brands, whether it's the Harry Potters, the DC universe. So.
And you'll be soon launching across more than 20 territories in Europe. I think it's on May 21st. We waited for that a long, long time. Tell us about the rollout and why it's coming now and why it's coming also later in France, yes. A month later.
So exactly, there's two phases. So first we have on 21st of May, we have the launch, which is the launch of Max, but we're taking the HBO Max platform and make it Max, which really is sort of functionalities that are really, really different. And those are in territories in Europe. And then after we have a second phase on 11th of June, where we launch in France, Benelux, Belgium, Netherlands, and in Poland as well, so with Max. France is the first launch of in the new territory since 2 years. So a lot of excitement goes with that. Very excited with that. And yes, we've done some announcement of how we're going to do that. So we've signed some strategic agreements with Canal Plus, Prime Video. So we're already with the Past Warner on Amazon Prime Video. So we'll migrate those subscribers there with Free, with Orange, with SFR. So a lot of very key partners to help us push the Max in the hands of as many people as possible.
And as you know, it's very important to have those kind of deals in France in order to reach audiences. People still watch streaming services through their TV
Absolutely.
sets,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. So we have that. I think that's really important, and we're very happy to see the response of the market and our partners, and I think we'll do what you exactly mentioned to get it in as many hands as possible. The second thing also, which is important to note, is that we're launching also ad light tier, as we call it. So at a price point of 5.99 euros, which is lower than what you would pay normally for Max, and that help us also pushing it to as many people as possible.
And the timing is also great because the Olympics are beginning in late July. How important is that in your strategy?
So it's very important because. And I'll maybe talk a little bit about what Warner Bros. Discovery is in France, maybe specifically, just to help understand what type of content we will have. So first in France, we have our theatrical distribution business with all the movies that are international movies. We have the great privilege of being the leader right now in the box office in France with a 16% market share. Market share of the box office with 8.5 million tickets sold. So we're very happy. It's obviously on the back of Dune 2. And last year we had Barbie. We had quite a nice run. And we complement that as well with local theatrical movies that we co-produce and distribute here in France. The presence of the company has been here since 1929, I've learned this morning. And for the last 25 years, we've co-financed more than 50 films in France, with some success with the Simone and Les Bons Étroits, which did more than 10 million entries. But and we have coming later this year the adaptation of the Goncourt, Leurs enfants après eux. So we have a nice lineup of also local theatrical that will at some point also come to Max. So that's one piece which is interesting. On the second hand, we have in France we have Eurosport, which is part of the portfolio. And so I'm getting to your question. Why is that? Because Eurosport is the home broadcaster of the Olympic Games, and we've decided to offer within Max an sport tier. For €5, you'll be able to watch all the content that we have on Eurosport, and also we'll be offering to every subscriber during the Olympic Games the access to the games. And so we will have 3,800 hours of live sports on Max in France. So that's going to be a major, I think, differentiation and offering for our subscribers.
Yeah, because Europe and especially France is very competitive with a lot of streaming services. How do you think you can really set yourself apart and still, get people to subscribe?
Look, I think we have the privilege of doing it with a catalog. I've mentioned that Warner Bros. Has celebrated 100 years anniversary last year. We have some of the greater director and producer who have worked with us. So all this catalog, or a large part of this catalog, will be obviously available on Max. We have franchise, as you know, like Harry Potters that are right now we can call them evergreen already. So that will be also on the service. We'll have all the DC universe as well offered, and a lot of the series as well that Warner Bros. has produced. So that's, I think, will be an important anchor to the platform. we'll have the HBO content and some of the series which have been working quite well, and we hope it will continue. We will have the Penguin coming in fall, which with Colin Farrell. So I think it's going to be an interesting one. Followed by Dune Prophecy, which is the series on the Dune universe, which we're also very excited with. And some returning series, The Last of Us, obviously, White Lotus, and all the series that have built the presence of HBO here in this part of the world. And we will supplement it as well. So on top of sports, which also will be, I think, a very strong offering, we will supplement it with local fiction.
Yes, local production, local
yes.
series. How important are local original productions for you? I know you recently announced the first slate of shows that you've commissioned in France, and some of them are very ambitious, like the adaptation of, I think it has a new title, but The Mythomaniac of the Bataclan, with Laure Calamy. It's a filmmaker who's been here at Cannes, I think at Critics Week. So it's a very high-profile premium series that you announced. How does that reflect your strategy, and how important are original productions for you?
We are very ambitious with that. We have announced a first slate with what we call une amie dévouée, devoted friend, with Laure Calamy. That will be our first local IP, local production. We have Malditos, who is a gypsy-based story, very exciting one also. And we've also announced the adaptation of Vivre avec nos morts, the bestseller of Orviller. So we try to find subjects that are not that are ambitious in the way we treat it, creating a little bit what we say in French, pas de côté. That I think HBO has. How would you translate that, pas de côté?
Original, I would say.
I'd like to ask a question to Elsa.
Singular?
Oh, it's the
singular?
other way around. No, it's singular, exactly. It's probably the right thing. And we will be announcing more very soon. End of the month, we'll have a press conference to give a little bit more detail on that slide. So I think that's a very important anchor piece. We have documentaries as well, two of which will be shown before the end of the year. Very contemporary, very talk about very interesting ones, and we leave ourselves open also to do more unscripted side and everything. And so that's, I think, on the original side. But also what is very important is that we're also acquiring local French content, either on a second window base, but also on a non-exclusive basis, some catalog library.
Can you give examples of both?
Not, we are finalizing it, so I can't really tell. But the idea is that we try to take very iconic content, but also content that hasn't been shown for a long time. And the team is really focused on finding the right curation of the content, because I think it's streaming is two things, right? It's the content that you offer, but also how you make it discoverable. And I think the curation now with the new platform that we have, the functionalities that we have, the recommendation engine that we have, everything else, as well as really the touch that the team are taking in curating an environment where you go from one content to another in a seamless way. We're very excited with that.
Yeah, and I think what's great also is that you're working with people in the industry who are really well respected and really high profile. How is that important for you in the Max brand, that you keep that kind of level? It's very sophisticated.
Yeah, I think it's important that it's sophisticated, but I don't think it needs to be, and it should be. To be very honest, I think it's. The brand HBO is not that. The brand HBO, it's a brand that creates the conversation. more than being absolutely premium. Because that's the whole idea of having Max. We're looking at an audience which is much wider than the premium one. And I think the acquisition will help with that. The initial discussions that we are having with the producers here in France, but also elsewhere, are showing also that, or trying to widen a little bit the scope and become a real mainstream player.
Is that why the HBO brand was removed from Max?
That's the question I've been asked all the time. Why did you take the HBO brand out of the equation? HBO is a very, very important brand within the ecosystem. A very, very important one. Having said that, in the US, the brand of HBO is very strong and has advantage and disadvantage, and we wanted to have a slightly more open audience in the US.
And you appointed very, very well-known, well-respected executives in France to oversee original production. Vera Peltekian, who worked many years at Canal+. How important was it for you also to appoint people who are really plugged in the industry?
I think that's very important. I think some of you will know her. I think what she has produced speaks for itself. And yes, we can't just sit back and just wait for project to come. We just can't rely on just the magic of the name of HBO or Warner Brothers, but we really want to have the discussion with, some of you who are here, to really think about what is the next storytelling we want to create. So I think the executives that we have are definitely helping there.
And what's the rate of projects that go from script to production at Max? What would you say, like approximately?
I think you need to wait another year or year and a half to tell us that, to ask this question. It's difficult to know for now. Let's not forget, we haven't launched yet, so
yes.
We are taking time. We are ambitious with what we want to do. We have obviously development budgets to make sure that we explore things in the right way. It's a bit early to say.
But it seems that you're definitely not in the volume game, right? You're looking to do, fewer but bigger shows.
Yes, absolutely. That's really the idea. Quality over quantity, for sure, for us. And I think it speaks also to what we are doing on an international basis. We are trying to find sometimes a way, those things that will create the discussion, but some other places where we have to have repeatable IP. We are trying to create also franchise. It's probably a little bit less relevant in some markets, but we see it with what we are trying to do now with Harry Potter. We have announced that we'll go with a Harry Potter series as well that is being written as we speak, more or less. That's a very exciting one. We are committing for close to 10 years, I think, with that project. Having that IP, and I think the last movie dates 12 years ago. We're trying to create as many touch points as possible. We have, and we've discussed it the other times, but I'm very passionate about the idea also of offering the audience an experience on screen, but also an experience outside of this.
Yes, before we get to that, every platform has a fashion show right now in France. Do you have one?
No, that's how we are different.
That's good. And I know when I interviewed Vera, I think it was like a couple years ago, about her ambitions, she said she wanted to make shows that are very contemporary, very modern, and that's also something that's different from some of the other platforms who are doing, a lot of action thriller, but not necessarily like contemporary in the way that they touch on sensitive issues. Is that also still the case, something that you're looking to do?
Absolutely, 100%. But I have to say also that in the process of screening project, we leave ourselves very open to different things. And we have a project that we'll announce soon, which is totally out of the scope of what we thought we should be doing. But the project is just amazing, and we decided to go with it. So on one hand, we have a very clear philosophy of what we want to do. We have a strategy, but nothing is carved in stone. So we're also flexible and open for other things.
And since you're one of the last streamer to enter the market, what are the pitfalls that you want to avoid, that you've seen some other services do?
Yes, that's always what I say to myself, is being the last one has some advantage. You learn from the mistakes of others, or just because the market has evolved so much. It's amazing. So look, HBO has been true to a lot of its initial strategy. For example, we have continued to schedule shows in a way that is not what we call the binge viewing. We continue to have the Sunday show coming up to create a feeling of appointment TV, which we believe is important. So I think we will continue doing that. We want to have, and that's really important for us, we want to have a real engagement from the audience. I think the game of getting subscribers at any cost is over. We want to, as we said initially, we want to get our Max product in the hands of as many people as possible, because we truly believe that it's an amazing product. But on the other hand, we need to have the engagement. And I think this is, I guess, the biggest difference compared to what happened in the past.
And you're not only skewing teenagers, right?
No.
Is there an audience you feel like, among the older demographics for streamers today?
Sorry, what's the question?
I mean, do you feel like older audiences are watching streaming services more today, and therefore it's important to make shows also for them?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's democratized in a very meaningful way. I think because it was invented now 10, 15 years ago, also the whole generation that has, getting older with it. But and that's hence the brand of Max. We want to be a platform for everyone. If you want to watch Sopranos, rewatch Sopranos, hopefully, not watch it for the first time, rewatch Sopranos, you can get there. If you want to get the Stanley Kubrick movies, you can get that on the thing. But also, you have Rick and Morty, which is probably the biggest phenomenon of the young adult generation right now. Or the Looney Tunes. We have Tom and Jerry and all the Looney Tunes also available on this platform. So I think it speaks to a relatively wide audience.
And you lived in Asia for many, many years. Being back here in Europe, what are you seeing are the opportunities and challenges in Europe?
I see a lot of opportunities. We are not present in France. We're not present in Belgium. We're not present in the UK, we're not present in Germany, we're not present in Italy. I think that speaks for a certain opportunity for not the smallest markets in Europe. So I think that's probably one thing. One thing is really to get to explore those markets and obviously make an offering in those markets. And we're starting now in France and Belgium on the 11th of June. That's one piece. And the second piece as well, as I mentioned it quickly, is I think one of the greatest opportunities to create those different touch points with the fans. We've done a Harry Potter experience in Paris. A few months, we had 600,000 tickets sold.
What was it exactly? Tell us.
It's a digital experience where you get immersed in the world of the Wizarding World. This we had with Hogwarts Legacy, the biggest, one of the biggest console game in last year. We've had a retail sale of more than $1 billion globally. We've sold more than 1.3 million copies in France. And yeah, so those are the ways also that you take your storytelling and you expand it and you create those touch points on a regular basis. And I think that fuels, obviously, revenues, but that fuels the engagement that I'm talking about.
Can you do that, you feel, with French or European shows or movies? Like, increase those kind of experiences or merchandising Any opportunities like that?
Why not? Why not? I think no one has really cracked it right now, but I think we have a chance to do it because we know how to execute on that. There is a very vivid scene of gaming in France and in Europe as well. Very, very global companies have emerged out of Europe with also a real storytelling where you can see the bridge between our video storytelling and the game storytelling. We've released on HBO The Last of Us with great success last year. On the other hand, I mentioned Hogwarts Legacy being, taking Harry Potter into video games, also being very successful. So I think there is a real potential to look at that. So we know how to do this, there's potential. And I think the beauty as well is that we should look at all our intellectual property in a very holistic way. So if one can help the others to achieve that type of things, we should.
And in terms of local storytelling, how do you think about that when you receive projects? Do you feel like, oh, this is too local, we need something more international? Or do you want very local stories, hoping that they're going to translate?
Okay, I have a very clear view on that because when you're saying, what have you learned from the mistakes of the past? I've learned that trying to do, and it was in Asia, but it's the same everywhere in the world, trying to do something which is regional, that travels, or, before thinking about what is the audience you're targeting or servicing, I want to say. That's the biggest mistake. So we are 100% committed to do local stories for local audience. And what we know as well, if it's well executed, it has a chance to travel. And we have the good news is with our close to 100 million subscribers and a platform which is not present everywhere. Obviously, as I mentioned, we are in less than 50% or more or less 50% of the addressable market. We have the ability to make those story travel if it makes sense.
And how do you greenlight series? This is a question that I had for the Disney Plus folks, but.
So before I get a lot of pitch myself, I'm not the one to do that. It's Vera and on the fiction side, and Stéphane on the theatrical production side. But we work as a group. Look, it's those things are built when you have a global organization like that. You have processes, but also trust, and we have something which always can optimize. But the reality is that the decision making is really in the hands of the people, because no one outside of France will be able to tell you what will work in France. No one outside of Germany will be able to tell you exactly. And so we have the luxury of having those very strong local teams. For example, in Germany, that comes out of our free-to-air business that we have very strongly. So we're producing already a lot in Germany, even though we don't have Max. Or we recruit very strong teams locally to do that.
That's great. And what is your strategy regarding theatrical movies? Because you mentioned, that Warner Brothers was one of the biggest supporter of theaters. In France, there are some constraints because of windowing, but still, what is your strategy with that?
So as I mentioned, we've produced quite a number of movies, more than 50 over the last 20 years. So that probably equates to close to 200 million euros of investment. And so that's a very significant support to the industry. So we're a distributor of those movies. We market them. Some of those will go on Max when we have the rights and when we want to acquire the rights for that. So our ambition is to continue to do what we've done. We are making 3 to 5 plus movies per year. It really depends on the opportunity, to be honest. So in that way, we're very committed to continue to do.
Yeah, because you mentioned some very big film countries like Italy and even Spain. Germany also has great production. So will you be looking also to buy original, like new movies?
We do that already in those territories. France and Germany are the two main territories where we have and we will continue to invest into local theatrical productions.
That's great. And looking ahead, what do you see the streaming landscape evolve?
If I knew. Look, I think there's no question that it's probably it's there to stay. It's the way of distribution that is now replacing, complementing the linear experience. We see that, so that's not a question. When you think about what we are trying to do strategically with our organization, we're trying to lean into that new form of distribution heavily. Hence, all the investment, because those are major investments that we are doing on Max. And again, we're now present in India, in Australia, in Japan, in all the European countries that I've mentioned. So we're going to move forward with that very heavily. So that's really one piece of it. And the second piece is we continue investing in content. At the end of the day, this is what we have been doing for more than 100 years now, and we'll continue doing that. That's as simple as this. What we will try to do also is be also very strategic with what we do. We're making bets. I think HBO is a good example of a place where major bets are being done. Most of the time relatively successfully, but not all the time. We know it's not a hard science. So we continue to do that and continue to also think strategically how we can look at content a little bit more holistically.
Beautiful. Last question. What's your next bet?
What do you mean?
Well, what's the next bet you're going to take? The next big thing.
I have to say that I'm very, and I hope it doesn't sound non-ambitious, but I'm very focused on launching 11th of June in France and Benelux. Very focused on that. Then Eurosports is the home broadcaster for the Olympic Games, which is the biggest broadcast event in the world. So a little bit focused on that as well. So those, I would say, are the two next bets.
That's a big one. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.